Hello again from my front porch. Pardon me while I wet my whistle. Well, it was a little dry before I got started here, so I thought I'd have a little swig of one of my favorite beverages. Now, this particular beverage, it's called diet soda, but it's not really good for dieting. Um, and some people have pretty strong, passionate opinions about this stuff. In fact, a good friend of mine from high school refers to it as poison, which I suppose it might actually be. I don't know. But what I want to talk about today kind of dovetails off of that is that we can get really passionate about our feelings towards something, about whether we think something is good or bad, or whether we think something is worthwhile or not. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with having opinions. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, you should have an opinion, you should make decisions, and you should feel free to express what you feel your opinion of things are. That's the hallmark of free speech in the United States. In fact, it's not just that you can make fun of people or that you can mock people or that you can condemn what the actions of the elected people or what. The point of free speech is that you're able to simply say, this is what I believe. And then other people around you are also doing this, and you're able to identify the other people who believe like you believe, and you can come together and you can do stuff together. Even elect people who represent what you believe. But we've gotten away from that. We've gotten into more of a society now where people, it's not good enough that I believe something and that I know what I believe. It's important that I not only convince you to agree with me, but that I find some way to be able to leverage social norms or even the justice system to force you to agree with me. And see, that's wrong. I don't agree with that. Now, the focus of this particular episode, pretty heavy stuff, and that is the concept of human toxicity. Human toxicity. We all have the potential for it, unfortunately. Some lean into it without restraint, and others, it happens without them necessarily even realizing that that's what they're doing, and yet they do anyway. Say, for example, this is what I like, and if you don't like it, well, you can just say, well, I don't like that. You say that's not good for you, that's not healthy for you. But when you start saying things like that's poison and you're poisoning yourself, well, see, that's a little extreme. Okay, well, but I care about you, so that's why I'm being so emphatic. Okay, but we have to find that fine line between knowing what is the right communication method for the individual that you're talking to. Otherwise, we slip into that I want to force people to see the world the way I see it. And if they don't see that, if they don't agree with my mindset, then I'm going to belittle them. I'm going to bury them under pressure. I'm going to make them feel stupid. I'm going to make them feel, whole bunch of, it's basically variations of bullying. Now, I don't want to trivialize it because, unfortunately, we live in a society where we have accepted bullying and we sort of are like, bullies, that's it. But bullying is, it's a warm, fuzzy way of saying terrorizing someone. Because terrorism, that's exactly what terrorism is. Terrorism is making somebody feel pressured to do what you want them to do or to think the way you want them to think. Otherwise, they will face repercussions. The mafia did this. I mean, it's a cliche storyline from countless movies and TV shows of thugs from the mafia showing up at the mom and pop store saying, hey, you pay us this much money and we will protect you. Protect us from what? Well, basically from us harming you. That sort. It's bullying. It's terrorism. It's all the same mindset. We have different levels of it based off the term we use, but it's the same thing. It all comes back to this human toxicity, at least in my opinion. And this is my show. But let me give you some other examples. Some ones that maybe you can understand, maybe you can relate to. In fact, some that might even make you flinch a little bit, because there's that old that cliche that I've used before, that if you throw a stone into a pack of dogs, the one that yelps is the one that you hit. I'm not condoning throwing stones at dogs. That's not the point. The point is, if I throw out one of these stones and it makes you yelp. So anyway, let's start with current events. Donald Trump is about to be sworn in again as President of the United States, making him the second president in United States history to serve 2 terms that are not consecutive, Grover Cleveland being the only other one who pulled that off. And so here's Donald Trump going to be elected against all odds. It was against all odds he got elected the first time, but now here he is coming in again. And for the last 4 years, the rhetoric has been, you need to support the president, even if you have concerns or questions about his mental acuity, even whatever. As Americans, we support our president. And I believe that. I really do. I have supported every president, even the ones that I've not agreed with politically. Still, they are my president while they are in office. Joe Biden has been my president. Before him, Donald Trump was my president. Before him, Barack Obama was my president. Before him, George W. Bush was my president. And you can just keep going back and back. Every one of them, whether I agreed with everything they stood for or not, or any of the stuff, I don't know, they still were president, and I respected them for that. And the same thing will be the case with Donald Trump here now, coming back into office. And I've made no secret about the fact, I don't try not to get political with these shows, but I've made no secret about the fact that I'm not a Donald Trump fan. As a person, I think he has a tremendous list of character flaws. And he wears them on his sleeve. He almost wears them like a badge of honor. And so he's just not my cup of tea when it comes to a person. Politically, there's some of his politics I don't agree with either, but there's some of his politics that I don't have a problem with. It's the same case with anyone who's been president. I could say the exact same thing about them. But the people who for the last 4 years have been telling us, whether you have concerns about the president or not, you need to be supporting. We need to be unified. We need to be Americans. We need to be rallying. We need to be, okay, maybe you don't agree with this, but look at this other thing over here. You got all of this understanding are now attacking just voraciously, attacking Trump. They're attacking anybody who supports Trump, any of the allies of Trump, and just mocking unmercifully. And I have a problem with that, because that's human toxicity. You can't say you need to behave this way when it's somebody I like, but then we behave this way when it's somebody that I'm not. At the bare minimum, that's hypocrisy. But I'm going to label it human toxicity. We also see it with the response to the wildfires out in California. Horrible tragedy, just awful. And yet, I've seen on social media people mocking and laughing and scoffing because the people impacted in parts of what's been done are rich people, celebrities, who, there's this perception, well, they have, unlimited sources of finance, and so this is no big deal to them. They'll just rebuild. These people, these are their homes. Everything that matters, just like me. My house is here, and I've got a lot of stuff in here. Probably got more stuff than I need, but I have some stuff in here that means a lot to me. And if there was a fire that took out my house, oh, sure, you could rebuild the house, you could replace the furniture, you could do it. But there's things in here that are memories, that represent milestones in my life, and they would be gone forever. And that would hurt. Well, these people are no different. I don't care how much money they have in the bank. I don't care how many movies or TV shows they've made. I don't care what their status is socially. They've lost their homes, and that's heartbreaking. And how people can mock that, belittle that, question the suffering that these people go through because of their job or their social status or their financial status, I just think is unconscionable. It is human toxicity. Another example was the recent funeral service for Jimmy Carter, where I was just Jimmy Carter was a good man, a really good man. You didn't always have to agree with his politics, but I mean, but there was no question, there was never any question that James Carter was a decent human being, that he truly cared, he truly had compassion. In fact, there are times I wonder how in the world he even got himself elected president, because that doesn't seem to be a qualification set for most people who served in the office, at least in modern times. And so his death was very sad. And yet, there were people who used his opportunity to attack and belittle his political failings, where his shortcomings have been. The reason that he was not elected to a second term, that Reagan was able to beat him, and all of his failings and all this kind of stuff. I suppose, there are people who do that. But then, even at the funeral services itself, all anybody wanted to talk about was how the partisan presidential club were interacting. That was what media wanted to focus on. In fact, if I think back over the coverage that I saw highlighted from media on social media channels, but from mainstream media on social media, I don't know. I really don't remember actually seeing anything from anybody speaking at the ceremony. All I saw were shots of the President's Club and how these folks were snubbing Donald Trump, how Kamala Harris was sitting in front and she was giving the stink eye to Barack Obama because he was actually interacting with Donald Trump when they were joking, laughing together. All kinds of stuff, an analysis of what this meant and that meant there. There was photos shared by the Carter Foundation that cut Donald Trump out as if he wasn't even there, and all this kind of petty junior high kind of crap, when we're supposed to be honoring the legacy of a good man. Yes, he was a partisan. Yes, he was a Democrat. But he was above that. He was a good man, and we should have been celebrating that. But instead, people used it as just another opportunity to reinforce this petty partisanship, this divide that is one of the examples of human toxicity. Politics is a cesspool of human toxicity. But we can go on. Those are big things. The WNBA, oh Lord, nobody even really cared about, I shouldn't say no, that's most people didn't care until Caitlin Clark shows up. But Caitlin Clark shows up and she's not seeking the spotlight. She just wants to play ball, and she does it very well. However, she ruffles a lot of feathers from people who had already been in the WNBA and did not get the attention, did not get the spotlight that she's now getting. And so, right away, there are accusations of racism because she's a white girl, and there's been so many non-white girls who have been in the sport that don't feel like they have been treated well, that she's being treated special because she's, Midwest, she's not, from the inner city, she's not all kinds of different reasons why she's being spotlit and these people are being ignored. No, she's just a good player, and she's a good person. She's not self-aggrandizing. She's not seeking that spotlight for herself. Like I said, she's at every opportunity, she's talking about her teammates, and she's talking about the people who've gone before her, who've blazed the trail in that sport. She's talking about everybody else, and everybody else is talking about her and bad-mouthing her. And then there's this absurd rivalry between her and Angel Reese. And I say absurd because the two are nothing alike. I mean, personality-wise, they're nothing alike. Skill level, they're nothing alike. Now, I'm sorry, I know some people. I think Angel Reese is a good player. She's got some strengths. She also has some glaring weaknesses. Caitlin Clark has some glaring weaknesses, not the least of which is she gets real passionate. It's almost like she hulks out when she's out there on the court. And once that emotion level, once that passion level gets up here, that intensity is so strong that it's hard to rein her in. She then, flies off the handle. That's something she's got to work on. For Angel Reese, what she's got to work on is actually making baskets. I mean, I'm sorry, but she's the rebound queen, but a lot of her rebounds are her own. And even though she goes in, keeps going for all these rebounds, which I think is great, by the way. I've gone to way too many basketball games, men and women, where the player shoots the ball and the entire team just turns and runs back the other. Nobody hangs around to make sure it went in to see if it needs rebounded. I don't understand that. That seems weird to me. Angel Reese, to her credit, she goes and she tries for the rebounds, but she doesn't even make most of those. She gets credit for how many attempted rebounds she makes, but nobody talks about how few of those actually result in any points. They just burn up time on the clock. So the skill-wise, the two are not the same. They are not the same. I'm sorry, but they're not the same. But because of what happened in college with the championship game that they butted heads and LSU won and Iowa did not, and say so that Angel Reese keeps bragging about that and her fans keep bragging about that. Because of that, there's this rivalry created, and I think the WNBA is continuing to fuel it because they think this rivalry, the drama created by that, is going to sell more tickets. It's going to keep people engaged, keep people interested. People need this drama in order to draw them in, to keep them. And I don't think this. I think Caitlin Clark draws people in just because of who she is. I think that's totally fine. But the WNBA, by promoting this, by continuing to reinforce this rivalry that really has no foundation, honestly, is them cashing in on human toxicity, making money off it. And that is not unheard of. The Kansas City Chiefs. Oh wow! See, I'm a Chiefs fan, so I will say that right up front for clarity, for transparency. And I don't buy into this whole, the Chiefs are only doing well because they cheat. The cheating Chiefs, and they pay off the refs and blah, 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 blah. And there's this absurd thing going around now that they say, well, this ref, the Chiefs they haven't lost the last 6 or 7 games with this guy. When this guy is, they've hardly lost any games in a long time. Just 2 or 3 games in the last 2 seasons here. And so what it doesn't matter who the refs are. You're going to be able to say the Chiefs have done really well with this person reffing. It's a stupid stat that's intended to lean into human toxicity. It plays off of that. It tries to drum up an anti-Chiefs mindset by playing off of this sort of stupidity. Let's fuel the fire. Oh, you want to fuel the fire with the Chiefs? Let's talk about Taylor Swift. Oh my heavens! A player on the Chiefs has a girlfriend who happens to be the biggest singer on the planet right now. The horror! And can you believe this? She actually wants to come to his games and support her boyfriend. Oh, wow! This is mind-blowing. This is but for some reason, it causes people to be upset. Even more than that, it fuels these other allegations that in some way Taylor Swift is helping the Chiefs cheat. She's influencing their win streak because of her power and prestige as a celebrity. I mean, some of this stuff just gives me a headache. But I mean, I can go on. Female movies, superhero movies especially. I like the Marvel movies. I really, I enjoy all of them except the Eternals. I couldn't get into the Eternals. Excuse me, that one just did not do it for me. It was a push. I mean, I own it. I own all the Marvel movies on DVD. I got the whole collection, and so it has to be included. It's part of. But yeah, I don't like it. But I've liked everything else and the TV shows. Secret Wars. I didn't, or was that the name of it? The miniseries they did. I wasn't really a big fan of that one. Yeah, the others I've liked. But oh wow, the people that came out of the woodwork when there started to be movies that featured female heroes. The Captain Marvel movies. Oh man, they're all so horrible. Also, the movie The Marvels that featured Captain Marvel and two other iterations. I thought it was a great movie. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was funny. It's full of action. It had incredible fight choreography because you literally have these characters as they're using their powers. They just blip out of they just blip to somewhere else, and one of the others replaces them in the middle of the same fight with a whole different skill set that they have, and this is all just happening. Boom, 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 boom. And I said, oh, man, the choreography that went into just mapping all that out to film it, just I think was awesome. But there was a series on called She-Hulk, which I've never really read the She-Hulk comics. I'm familiar with the character, but I watched the miniseries on Disney Plus. I thought it was hysterical. I loved it. It was a lot like Deadpool, not as crass, but it was a lot like Deadpool in that she breaks the fourth wall all the time, and it's very irreverent. It takes lots of jokes, and I thought it was hysterical. But oh wow, these movies and some others that were in the mix there too. I mean, they came out, and the fanboys, they came out of the woodwork, attacking and condemning and running it down and talking about things like Marvel has gone down the hill ever since Chris Evans and RDJ left and blah. What they're really saying is this movie or this miniseries did not have a strong male lead, and therefore it isn't as good. Now, aside from being blatantly sexist, that's toxic humanity. Human toxicity right there on display. Oh, I could go on. We talked about politics. We touched on with social media itself is a petri dish of human toxicity. And I don't care what it is. If somebody makes a statement about something, and you can guarantee there are going to be a barrage of others who are going to come out not just arguing against what they've said, but are going to attack them personally. Oh, so many times you say something, and it can be factual statement, and somebody else replies with, yeah, well, you're blah, 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 blah. What I tend to get a whole lot of anymore these days is, well, old man, why don't you just go sit in your rocking chair, and you're about close to death. I literally have had people say this. You're close to death anyway, so shut up and let us live our lives. It's just like, wow. Wow. I mean, it's a little stunning, that level of hostility from someone who you've never even met and never will. But also, I'm like, you had the opportunity to sit and think of a reply before you typed it, and that's what you came up with? That's it? It's kind of sad. But that response comes from that level of human toxicity. Driving. I could have been talking about all this other stuff, and you could be sitting there going, that's not me. That's not me. That's not me. Let's put you behind the wheel of a car. Let's have you go driving down the road, down the highway, down the interstate, have people cutting you off, have people slowing down, brake checking you, doing all the stupid stuff people do in front of us. And then let's see how you feel about human toxicity. You probably are going to be expressing some, but the person who's doing this stuff, I know, I have been behind drivers who I know are doing stuff just to irritate me. I mean, if that's not what they're really doing, well, it sure seems that way because there's no other explanation for why they're engaging in the things that they are engaging in. Whichever side of that you're on, that's human toxicity. Now, I have joked that when I am old and retired and have nothing better to do, that, I'm just going to drive around in my car. I'm going to drive slow in the fast lane. I'm going to sit at green lights excessively. I'm going to... I hope that's not the case. I hope, please, anybody listening who is around me when that day comes, don't let me do that, really. But still, whichever side of that equation, whichever side of the steering wheel you're on, there is, excuse me, there's an element of human toxicity there, and ultimately it does circle back to where I started with this belief that because I feel a certain way, because I am upset about something, because I am angry about something, I need to make sure everybody else around me feels this anger too, and that they also will make sure that they are doing the same things as me, that they are hating the same people that I hate. It's true. And I saw a statement online. I'm gonna wrap this up with this because I'm just calling these things out. I'm trying to hold up a mirror, and maybe you've seen yourself in some of these things. I'm trying to challenge us all because I have to do this too, the driving one especially, and the political one. I can get sucked into that just as well as anybody too. But I want to read you a statement that I pulled off of somebody posted on social media, and I thought I think it was in the context of the wildfires. And I just want to read this because I think this really hits the nail on the head. Compassion should not be given to only those you agree with. We are all humans. If you only show compassion to those you align with, you are contributing to what is wrong in our world. And let's apply that one to politics. Let me read that line again. If you only show compassion to those you align with, you are contributing to what is wrong in our world. The division, the comparing only makes things worse. We need to wake up, we need to be kinder, and we need to realize the world is bigger than who has more money, who voted for who, or who likes who. The division, the comparing only makes things worse. We need to wake up. We need to wake up. We need to be kinder, and we need to realize the world is bigger than who has more money, who voted for who, or even who likes who. Do not contribute to human toxicity. Check yourself. You can't control anybody else. You can only control you. So do a good job of that. And if we all do a better job of that, then we all will come out ahead. All right. With that, I'll let y'all go, and I'll see you next time from my front porch.